Rochford and Love Remedy. 19 minutes past 3 is the time you tune into BBC Radio Leicester on this Wednesday afternoon. It's me, AD, with you right up until 6. And I'm very, very glad of your company on this grey and wet and horrible Wednesday afternoon. Now, listen, right? Okay, if I told you to close your eyes, right? Close your eyes. And if, just imagine to yourself, right? Imagine a saxophone player. Okay, imagine a saxophone player, got a big instrument, making loads of noise. You probably got an instant image, I imagine, of someone playing jazz or blues, but you probably wouldn't imagine a sound like this. Wow. That's the sound of Phoenix Saxophone Orchestra, who are based over in Market Harborough. And believe it or not, that music was all recorded in lockdown. It's amazing, isn't it? I think I'd like that as a ringtone for my phone, to be fair. Well, one of the orchestra members, Jane Smith, joins us now. Jane, thank you for your time this afternoon. This is magical. What are we actually listening to at the minute, Jane?
Oh, hi, good afternoon there. Yes, this is actually an arrangement of Haydn's 39th Symphony, which has been arranged for saxophones by one of our members. It was originally an orchestral piece, but as you can hear, all played by saxophones. So written in 1768 and rearranged more than 250 years later for what you hear now today.
Blimey, it's lovely, it's jolly, it's happy, it's making my ears smile, Jane, to be honest. I mean, tell me about the Phoenix Saxophone Orchestra and how it all got started.
Well, we started in January this year, but unfortunately we'd only been going on for a month and a half before lockdown hit us. So obviously that meant we couldn't meet to rehearse anymore. And the reason we started the orchestra was really just to have fun playing the saxophone together, and also to bring the versatility of the instrument to a wider audience. Because I think a lot of people will have heard the alto sax, which is what you hear on Baker Street, or the tenor sax, which is what you hear on the Pink Panther. But there's actually 7 different saxophones that you can hear in that recording there. And as you mentioned in your introduction, we did record it in garages and bedrooms and bathrooms all over Leicestershire, and then spliced it all together. But it's meant that we've had something to work on during lockdown, which has been great.
See, on the show, we're all about proper Leicester, and it doesn't get much more proper Leicester than that, does it? I mean, you said then 7 saxophones making up that piece of music. Just tell me, Jane, what's so great about the saxophone?
Well, I think it's a very versatile instrument. I mean, even just one instrument on its own. I saw something on the New York Times website, and it said you can make it sing, you can make it cry, you can make it wail, you can make it really soft or really loud. So each instrument on its own is very expressive. But then when you get all these 7 instruments together, which range from a little tiny one called a sopranino, which is about the size of a recorder, down to the contrabass, which is bigger than a tuba, you get a fantastic range of different sounds and different instruments that really makes something interesting to listen to.
Do you think as well, right, Jane? Because this is for my ignorance, all right. Remember, I'm from Glenfield. I was thinking to myself, saxophone.
Said, yeah.
I was thinking saxophone, blimey, that'll be a bit of a racket. How on earth is that all going to come into an orchestra and play? And that was beautiful. Do you think that saxophones get a bit of a bad rep, really?
Well, it's funny, actually, because when the saxophone came out, it was very, very looked down on. It wasn't allowed into any of the proper orchestras. And really, the only reason that it eventually took off was because they were being sold off very cheaply in America. And a lot of the sort of people, the kids from the poorer neighbourhoods, it's the only thing that they could afford. And that's why it took off in that kind of jazz background, with that jazz background, and why you still hear the saxophones used quite a lot in jazz. But as I say, it is very versatile, and as you can hear, it can be adapted to that kind of symphony and more classical sound as well. And within the orchestra, we do play lots of different types of music, from classical through to jazz, and also sort of film tunes, things from musicals, and standard traditionals as well. So lots for us to go at.
So what's the future then? You said then, Jane, about people doing it in the garages and your kind of spare bedrooms and recording that music. But what's the future for the orchestra? Where do you go from here?
Well, we've actually been really lucky that during lockdown we've actually expanded rather than contract, which could have been a danger. So we've got 2 new members that have joined us. We've actually got a new patron who is Gerard McChrystal, who lives locally in Leicester, but is an internationally renowned saxophone player. So the next step for us then is getting back to rehearsal, and we are planning to do that on the 4th of October. We've had to go for a bigger venue so that we can be socially distanced. But as we stand now, we are still hoping to do that. If things change and we're not, then I'm guessing it's more playing in bedrooms, and the cat's going to have to put a paws over her ears again.
Now, I've just had a message in as well, Jane. I've got to get this is how it works. It's a fast-paced show. People are texting in about saxophones already. I've had a message.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep this one anonymous, okay? Because it says, everyone in every orchestra and band that I've played in always fancied the saxophone player. So is there kind of like an element of sexiness with the saxophone as well, do you think?
Do you really expect me to comment on that? What I can say is that I do often think that instruments are like their players, or players are like their instruments. So, the saxophone is quite loud and in your face, and I think as a group, most of us are as well. So that makes for good fun. But I couldn't possibly comment on whether sax is sexy or sexy is sax. I'll leave that for other people to decide.
A great politician's answer that was, Jane. Brilliant. Jane, it's really lovely to talk to you. Thank you so, so much. You're welcome back anytime on the show. Tell me that. How can people get more information about what you're doing, or perhaps they want to sign up or get involved? How do they go about doing that?
Okay, well, the best thing is if they go to our website, which is phoenixsax.org.uk. That's phoenixsax.org.uk. There's links there to our Facebook, Twitter and YouTube, where they can hear and see a little bit more about us. And there's also contact details if they'd like to get in touch and find out more. And we'd be delighted to hear from anybody who is interested.
Jane, lovely to have you on the show. Thank you so, so much for your time. Jane Smith there joining us from the Phoenix Saxophone Orchestra based over in Market Harborough. If you do want any more information, it's well easy. I found them on Twitter earlier on. All you need to do is just type in Phoenix Saxophone Orchestra. Whack that into your internet and it will all pop up. Listen, I've got your latest news coming up for you after Sister Sledge, and then